Whoa, Nelly! You've joined us for another episode of Armageekdon. That's right, I'm your host, the Chief. I've got an episode that's coming hot, both barrels coming at you today. This is a video game-based episode. Now, if you listen to my other podcast, or one of the podcasts I did with my man Ben Flying Retro, the Outtatimers, the world's greatest podcast that no one listened to. If you didn't do that, go and check it out now. Links down below. It's a retro culture podcast, and we quite often mentioned on there playing Star Wars Battlefront. I'm talking the 2015 game from EA Dice, playing that on the PS4. Now, there's a certain section of that game, we called it the longest corridor in video gaming, and it's on a map called Imperial Station, game mode cargo. The corridor goes from one base to the other. It is ginormous, and I had a mission, I had a plan. I was like, we've been ruminating about this corridor, postulating about this corridor for so long. I want to talk to the guy who designed this corridor, who had some input in the way this looks, feels and plays. And so that's what I did back in June of 2021. The Chief went on a journey to try and find someone who could talk to us about this corridor, and this episode right now is going to chronicle that journey. Let's check it out. Okay, so the first thing the Chief did is he went over to Google, typed in Electronic Arts Dice Contact. How do we get a hold of someone? Right, and it's directing me to the EA help page on their forum, on their website. So popped over there, selected the game, Battlefront, what platform you're playing on, PS4. Right, where does it take us next? Okay, select a topic. Data privacy, manage my account, report concerns or harassment, none of those. Technical support, I guess. I need to speak to someone in the tech department, but not the kind of person they think I want to speak to. Anyway, select the issue. I went with game performance there. See where it gets us. It probably all leads to the same thing at the end. And then, okay, fine, you get this. And that was it. Recommended support option. Get help from the community. Find the gameplay tips. I don't want to go to the community just yet. So I ended up going to the chat. So then the chat, then the subject, game design. I didn't want to. I could have attached a file there actually of me playing the corridor. That'd have been incredible scenes, blow someone's mind. But I did not do that. So then I ended up on a chat with Premjeet. Good man, Premjeet. I think we'll find out how he fares. So nice to meet you, Chief. Let's see what happens in this conversation. Okay, I'm going to read out for you. I hope you can help. I'm a big fan of Star Wars Battlefront. I'm constantly amazed at the level design within the game, trying to get hold of, bad spelling of the word the game designer to ask them some questions. Can you provide contact details for the team behind the game design, please? So I'm going straight for the gut, straight for it. Just give me a name. I know he's not going to give it to me, but what he actually did was, thanks for sharing this with us, that we don't have a direct contact number for our game development team. However, I will surely document this as a feedback to pass on to our dedicated team. I don't want feedback, pal. I need to speak to someone. Please provide us more details that you wish to share with our team, and I will document them to pass on. No, I'm not sharing anything. I want to talk to the guy. Well, I don't want to share my love for the corridor, but I don't want to pass on any details there. So I was hoping to conduct an interview for my YouTube channel with someone. Is there a generic email address you can give me so I can continue trying to reach out to them? Thanks. I will definitely check this for you. Please allow me a few minutes. Now, Chief made an error there. I mentioned my YouTube channel, so that means I've got to jump through hoops of permission and all that jazz. Thanks for waiting. Here's the email address you may contact our team, permission requests. For detailed information, please visit our help article. And then basically that just documents, you got to fill out forms, say why you want it, say what your channel is, you know, your credentials, you know, how many viewers you got, why should they release this material. Didn't want any of that, so went for another option instead. Okay, now here is an email that I wrote to EA Dice on the 3rd of June. Let's check it out, and I will read. Hi, I'll start with an intro. My good friend Ben started playing Star Wars Battlefront 2015 upon its release, and roughly 6 months later, I followed suit. We exclusively played online multiplayer and racked up countless hours of play. Inevitably, the time came when we migrated over to Star Wars Battlefront 2, and for a good while, a great time was had. Then something changed. The maps and gameplay of Star Wars Battlefront 2 just weren't hitting the same heights as the previous version. Sure, it's obviously a great game that looks spectacular, plays fast and gives the player a fantastic sense of being immersed in the Star Wars universe, but it was a bit hectic and we longed for the intimate, focused, tight gameplay of the smaller 12-player maps of the original game. To be precise, cargo mode. This is where it was at. The pure distillation of teamwork, stealth, last-second victories, defeats, and lightning-quick trigger finger requirements. And now we get to the crux of this email. Imperial Station. What a map. Drilling down further, I want to specifically talk about what Ben and I have dubbed the longest corridor in video gaming. I'm not sure if that is an actual fact, but for us it sure is. Exit the base, down the stairs, then haul ass straight down the longest corridor in video gaming to the enemy base. Incredible. When we play this level, we live in that corridor. It's the only route we take. We have pitched battles in it. We set up blaster cannons. We long-range snipe. We even stopped at one time to have lunch in that corridor. It's that long. Okay, now we have that out of the way. The purpose of this email is to ask if we can speak to the designer of that level and the person who decided to include our favourite element in any video game ever, the longest corridor in video gaming. We'd love to chat to someone regarding decisions around this part of the map. Why include it? How long should it be? How will it affect gameplay? Are 2 blast doors enough, or should it have been 3, or even 1? I have a small YouTube channel where I talk about geek culture, Armageekdon, and I'd love to do an episode on the longest corridor in video gaming. Have some footage of the level corridor, and then hopefully a small conversation or interview with the game designer, and basically thank them for creating it. If you can pass this on to the design team behind Star Wars Battlefront 2015, that would be greatly appreciated, and I look forward to hearing back from you. All the best, Chief and Ben. There you go. I was reading that, obviously, but that is the email that I sent off to EA DICE, and let's find out what happened. So, not much was going down there, not much was happening, so while I was waiting for a reply, I popped over to the EA forums and posted a little message here saying that, you know, I really wanted to find some maps for cargo. I wanted some overhead aerial shots, some topography, if you will, so that, you know, that would give us a better understanding of the level, how big that corridor was, and, you know, a talking point. So then, while I was still waiting for a reply, I went over to LinkedIn and I thought, listen, what I've got to do here is start Googling, start searching for designers of this game. So I just put in, I think, EA Star Wars Battlefront level designer or game designer, words to that effect. And here we go, found out my first man. It was Christian Johannesson. Apologies for any mispronunciations there. Lead game designer at DICE. And then I thought, okay, you know, looking at the resume, how do I contact him? And the problem is to contact these people. If you're not friends, you need to be part of LinkedIn Premium. So the chief dog then splashed the cash, spent the 24 or 26 pounds, whatever it was, to sign up for LinkedIn Premium, purely to start messaging people. So anyway, messaged Christian, did not get a reply. Messaged Leif Vesterholm, look at that, he looks like a happy-go-lucky kind of guy, and did not get a reply. Next up was Viore, don't know, apologies, did not get a reply. That was on the 9th of June, so a week's gone by, I'm getting nothing. No reply from EA either, which is not ideal. So then William Cooper on the 14th of June messaged him. He looks pretty happy. And he actually did reply. And here it is. Thanks for reaching out, but sadly I can't help with this. I don't recall who worked on those levels back in the day. Wish you all the best with your endeavour. All right, thanks for nothing. Robert Vassar. That's a pretty cool kind of linksy cat he's got going on there. Looking at his profile, June 2012 to Jan 2017, he was a senior development director on this project, which is good. And also, I cannot take credit for that corridor. I would ask Dennis BRÄNNVALL, who did a lot of the designs on that game. Fantastic. I've got a lead. So hit up Dennis on LinkedIn. There he is, looking pretty cool. Also had a look down at what he's worked on. Oh, alarm bells here, people. Lead level designer, Star Wars Battlefront, 2014-2015. He could be my man. Well, Mr. Vass has already kind of confirmed he might be. So popped over to the Twitter. I sent him a message, obviously, through LinkedIn. Popped over to Twitter. I think this was around the 25th of June now. 39,000 followers for the Wayfinder, so I think he was a bigger deal than I had, first thought. So I think his name holds a lot of sway in the community. Couldn't message him. There's no option to direct message Dennis there. Popped over to his Facebook page and did a private message to him there, just to see if I could contact him. Then on the 9th of it's around the end of June, 25th of June still, in fact. Yeah, looking at the top right corner there, Chief. I decided to start making up email addresses. So I was just putting random words strung together at certain places and sent this one off to Dennis, which was kind of similar to the one I had sent to EA, but just tailored a little bit more personal to Dennis. Did obviously spell Battlefront wrong there, which is not great. And then on the 9th of July, whoa, Facebook Messenger, I'm the guy behind that level. In fact, I designed every single multiplayer level for Battlefront. Or I think I did. So excellent. Contact with the main man. Excitement. Champagne popped. Corks popped and champagne flowed. Then it kind of all went a little bit silent. Nothing was. I had a bit of a conversation with Dennis there. Nothing was coming back. Look, the man's very busy. The man's got a hectic lifestyle. I'm not expecting people to respond to me. That's fine. Then we cut forward to the 4th of August, and Dennis has emailed me back. So clearly, one of the made-up email addresses I made to fire it off into the wild had hit. And that's it. Then we set up a date, and that's it. We here we are. So let's crack onto it, I guess. That's right, people. You've joined us for another episode of Armageekdon. I'm your host, the Chief. Got some special guests in the house today. You all know this man, Ben Flying Retro, regular contributor to the channel. But we got an even specialer guest in the studio. It's Mr. Dennis BRÄNNVALL. And if you don't know him, shame on you. He is a game designer, served as the lead level designer for Star Wars Battlefront. I'm talking 2015, I think that game was, and also associate design director for Star Wars Battlefront 2 for EA Dice. You've come out of that EA that bubble now for a while, maybe a year, Dennis. But we're so glad to have you on. We're going to talk some Star Wars Battlefront maps, the longest corridor in video gaming, as we like to call it. I don't know if it actually is, but I think it is. How are you doing, sir? Welcome aboard.
Thanks for having me. I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Excellent.
Yeah, we're good. It's quite surreal for me and Chief, to be honest with you, because we're dad gamers. So we've been stuck on playing Battlefront 2015 since it came out.
Awesome.
We've tried to play other games. We tried to segue to Battlefront 2, but we keep coming back to Star Wars Battlefront.
And part of that is the design. But like you said, we played this, and when we started Battlefront, we actually went to the big maps, didn't we? The 40-player Walker Assault, Supremacy, and they are cinematic, which is what I know Ben likes. Cinematic, incredible stuff. And you felt you could make a difference to the overall result of the game. Then, obviously, we progressed to Battlefront 2. It didn't last that long because, personally, I felt that what I was doing wasn't having a massive impact whether the team won or lost. Even more cinematic, possibly, but I felt like a bit of a cog in the machine. So we went back to Battlefront 1 and we changed it. We went just to the 12-player maps, drilled down even further, and then just went to cargo. That's all. And we still play it. We just play cargo. That's the only thing. And our favourite level of all those levels are great, actually. But our favourite one is Imperial Station, set on Endor. And like I said, the longest corridor in video gaming. Which I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that you had something to do with, Dennis.
I did. It's
so, Dennis, what year did your journey with Star Wars Battlefront? When was that? When did you get on board the project? Were you on from the ground up, or were you brought on, a few years after? I mean, how long does it even take?
No, I was there from close to the very beginning. Looking back now, much of my career at DICE was primarily spent on Battlefront. I joined them in the middle of production, so maybe a year and change out of launching Battlefield 4, and then. After that, I moved on to do, I think, one or two DLCs on Battlefield 4. And that was, we started working, concepting Battlefront, Star Wars Battlefront.
Yeah.
And we started concepting around that time, around like shortly after the launch of Battlefield 4. So when was that? That was 2013,
is that? No.
2013? Yeah, I think so.
So did they come to you guys with a kind of a mission statement for what they wanted to do with this next gen version of Battlefront?
No, not at all.
Right.
I think. So this is hearsay because I was not part of signing the deal with Disney, with EA or anything. But from what I understood, it was almost like part of like the initial deal with Disney was that DICE was going to build a Star Wars game.
Right. Okay.
And so we were one of the studios who, obviously we as developers didn't know about the Disney deal before it got. I think we learned about it like half a day, hours before it went official, right? I remember.
Yeah.
Like we had an impromptu studio meeting and everyone gathered up in like this big presentation hall, like a movie theater pretty much, and I remember specifically because we knew nothing and nothing had been decided. So the GM at the time, he had just taken like a Darth Vader, like completely fan made on like off Google Images of like Darth Vader and Battlefield, somehow like a weird, like if you just Google Battlefield Star Wars and you'll probably get like some weird Darth Vader compilation,
like or something, right?
Yeah, mashup, yeah, and he did that, and he had Imperial March just started playing. That's kind of how, when we all knew and we all started crying and applauding of like, yes, we get to make Star Wars.
So did you come in as a Star Wars fan, and does being a fan of a franchise, of an IP, help making the game, or does it make you want to put more stuff into the game that might not work just because you're a fan?
No, it totally helps. There is there's, I'd say, zero downside to being a Star Wars fan and working on Star Wars games. Like in many cases, I think knowing that you're working with a really prized IP and they're very precious around like how Darth Vader is not supposed to sprint, obviously, because of like that and how what you would expect out of Darth Vader. If you're not a Star Wars fan, you're not going to get those things. You're going to be frustrated with the restrictions around working with that IP. But if you are a Star Wars fan, then you'll be able to, then that doesn't, you would never even propose that he would sprint, right? Because you should know better if you're a Star Wars fan. And so it just saves you so much energy because you're just, you just roll with those things. And so I think so.
I remember sort of following this game in its development in terms of what they were marketing and getting like pumped for it. And some of the stuff that they were putting out maybe 6 months or a year before it came out, they had some behind the scenes of a bunch of people at the concept stage, and they were being like flown out to locations where they shot the OG trilogy. So they sent a team up to just north of San Francisco and did the Redwoods, and they were like, they had like toys and they were taking photos of the ferns, and then they went to, is it Norway or
to
was it
capture
Norway?
Yeah. So and Iceland to capture Sullust.
Was it? And I just remember I was like, this attention to detail is going to be appreciated by someone like me.
Well, you bought a PS4 purely to play that game. And I don't think for another 2 years after you bought another game. So you bought a PS4 for one game and played it for 2 years.
I've always liked Star Wars games. Sort of starting out like Super Star Wars on the SNES and then X-Wing on the PC. And this was like the first time where it just looks like
Star Wars.
It just looks like Star Wars. It's like photo real. That's why I say like I'm a dad gamer, because I know that when Battlefront came out, like hardcore gamers are kind of like, yeah, it's okay. But I was like, what do you mean? It's Star Wars. Like, you're literally, I couldn't believe how good it was. When I was playing Walker Assault, I just could not get over how immersive it was. But then I started playing with this clown, and he likes to play all the small maps. So I don't get to play Walker Assault anymore. But
we can play it if you want. We can have a go.
I mean, so so about those people that were going and photographing, all the foliage and stuff. What about, say, the corridor, the interiors? Are you going into Lucasfilm archives, looking at models?
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so pretty much. They invited quite a few of us, mostly the ones sort of doing the actual photo scanning and 3D modeling and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So sadly, I never got to enter the archives. I tried to make it happen, but I didn't need to go. To
that
be
would
honest,
be incredible.
my work. Yeah, but I think it just goes to show, like, this was for many of us, it was like really a career defining project and experience.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of EA studios were starting out making Star Wars games, and all of them were delayed. Like, it took a long while to get going for almost all the other studios, and a lot of them were canceled. I can't really talk about it, but we knew.
Was there a big open world game that was cancelled?
Yeah, like, well, I can't, but
yeah.
it's pretty much leaked, but I think, like, we had really grand plans, and not all of them came to fruition. And in some ways, it's we managed to do Battlefront 1, I think, in about 18 months, to your earlier question, which is almost unheard of. Like,
yeah,
I think it's unheard of in, like, making. It wasn't even supposed to be like what you're calling like a AAA game. Like, it compared, like, we were about 100 people working for 18 months doing this, and we had nothing. We started from nothing. We had not even a code base of anything running. So it goes to show how much, like, so many of us worked our tail off, and it wasn't because we were forced to.
No.
We were I think we were even and because 18 months is really, really quick turnaround to build a game from scratch. We weren't even supposed to launch when we did, but we honestly felt like we're going to go with Force Awakens. That's the only time that you launch EA's first, in this era, Star Wars game. And so it was almost like we knew when we were launching, and we were going for it. And like I said, I think at some point, because we knew we were in 18 months, there's no way we're going to build like a canon single player story. There's no way where we can do that with 100 people. No way. And which sort of immediately disqualifies you from being like this big blockbuster AAA shooter. But then when people saw it and they saw how amazing it looked and how it felt and how it sort of sounded,
they wanted
there's
it.
no way. Then there's no way. Then this has to be $60. This has to be this. This has to be everything. And I think to your point around like, not a single person would complain that it didn't feel accurate or that it didn't sound amazing, look amazing, and you know that it wasn't fun. It was just there's not enough here. I wanted more. There was only 4 planets. You know, like
clearly not for me and Chief. We're still playing.
Well, because I you know I played a little bit of online in the infancy of Xbox, but then pretty much habitually a solo campaign offline gamer. But this is the one that got me back into playing online because it's like, okay, fine. There is no single player campaign, which is initially, it's a blow. But then once you load up Hoth and you start taking down an Imperial Walker, well, I mean, goodbye for the rest of the week, the month, whatever, you know, forget about it. It's,
me and Chief often say that we would never, if you reskin the game and it was like army soldiers with real guns, we would never play like that game. We would never play Call of Duty, would we, Chief? Ever?
No. I've got no interest in running around with a realistic, real world military gun. That doesn't do it for me. But give me a blaster, give me an E11 or an A280, and I'm happy to shoot someone. But
it's the familiarity of the sounds and everything.
In terms of in terms of level design. Because that's going to lead us down the corridor, no pun intended. But do you have to do you how? And I'm not asking you to give away all the trade secrets, but are there certain elements that you have to put in to whether it be a big map or a small map? Do you have to have a grounding of right? We're going to need this, and this, and then it's just a case of where do we put them?
Well, I think that we were coming into this game that initially wasn't even supposed to be Battlefront. It turned into Battlefront, and I think that's another problem that for a different different conversation. Like it was supposed to be like it's a Star Wars shooter. It ended up being called Battlefront, but I'm not sure if you really. No one tried to pay homage to the original Battlefronts 1 and 2. We were just trying to make a new Star Wars shooter. And, like, it happened, right? It became a Battlefront title. And I think we knew that like there wasn't any way to do more than the 4 planets that we were going for and to hit the quality that we wanted in the time span that we had. There's no way we can do more. And we also knew that we are likely going to do a Force Awakens planet shortly after launch. We turned out to be Jakku. We had heard of a desert planet. We didn't know what it was called or anything. And so we knew that the artists cannot build more maps. And we knew there wasn't going to be much of a single player thing. We had, I think we called it skirmish back then, kind of like, a PvE thing. But that we looked at it more like a local co-op sort of training thing to prepare you or get you in the mood for multiplayer. So we knew that the bread and butter is going to be we're going to need a lot of game modes because we're not Battlefield. We're not gonna lean on, say, a conquest mode, and we knew that we could go in that direction, but yeah, we're going to need a lot of modes. We're not sure what's going to stick. We don't so we wanted to make a lot of modes, and by extension that meant utilizing the modes to create a variation of different sized levels, which is kind of unheard of from DICE. We usually do 8 to 10 giant maps for conquest, and then we try to fit smaller game modes like team deathmatch and stuff into little pockets of the pockets on that level. But this time around we weren't going to do that. and yeah, so it just got to. We had an amazing concept artist team, and we just had a lot of like stuff banked up, like ideas around like, can we make? Obviously, we're going to have to do like the echo base, like a battle for echo base with walkers and the shield generators. Obviously, we're going to have to do those things.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's going to be, you know, the forest of Endor. But then there was just cool inspirational things like kind of like a Tatooine mountain range with a sand crawler, which like that sounds like a cool map. Or
that was great.
Yeah, and yeah, obviously inside Echo Base, we made a map in there, and one of them was actually like this this cool like Imperial facility on the forest moon of Endor, kind of like a land with landing pads with these shuttles down there, and sort of like on this mountain range that was over, like looking out over, like down into like almost like a valley in the forest. But and so we just had these ideas that the concept artists had made, and like, can we make gameplay out of these things? And yeah, and so it was just like, it starts there, and then we had sort of defined, we knew that we're going to have 4 kind of big maps that were going to be for Supremacy and Walker Assault. We knew those were going to have to be fairly linear because the map was pretty much built to fit the AT-AT, like, because it takes a lot of, like, it was tricky. It took a lot of time to get the walkers to like behave correctly, pathfind their way around, and still like leave footprints and stuff that in this day and age you sort of expect.
Though.
And yeah, and also figuring out like how, because it's a shooter, and so you need cover and you need like things to run between, and like, how are we going to, because ideally if you look at like you know, Empire Strikes Back, and like what the planet of Hoth look like when they're coming in there, there's not a lot of cover if you want to be around the walkers.
It's pretty barren.
And so yeah, and we played around for the longest time having them like in the distance. It didn't feel right. It was always like, but like, it's the AT-ATs, I want to run around them, I want to be like, I want to fight stormtroopers that are sort of marching next to the walkers. That's what I want. And so how can we make them like, I want the mountain range to be really close to the walkers. I want them to be able to like, you know, walk across the trench when I'm like shooting up in like underneath them and stuff. Like, you want to get up and close to these giants.
Yeah. The cool thing about those big maps is that you get, you know, those walkers, they start far away and you're like, oh my God. But the battle, the way it moves and shifts through, and it's kind of, it's on rails, I guess. The walkers are going to their destination, but it just makes you feel like you're in a movie when you play those big maps, you know?
Yeah.
It's just like it swells and builds to these choke points, and then it's like regroup. And I don't know, each one of those can last like, I don't know, 20 minutes or something, 25 minutes. It really feels like you've been on a journey when you finish one of those maps.
Yeah, I'd say the development of Walker Assault and those levels took easily 80% of our dev time. Like, it was so hard to get that thing
I can imagine
working, and so I played it kind of not super safe, but safe-ish with like all the small modes, and that, like, I'm a old school, like, I'm a dad gamer these days, and like, it's funny, I play Battlefront 1 with my kids. They kind of prefer it over 2, so that's funny. And mostly I think because they can ride the walkers reliably in what was that called? It's not instant action, it's the PvE part of Battlefront 1, so the thing we did post launch. And
there's a good like, you guys did a good Rogue One DLC. Scarif.
Yeah, thanks. That was a lot of fun.
That was really cool. But
where you have the star fight first, and then you have to destroy the U-wings, then you go down to the planet's surface.
Yeah, it was cool. Just the tropical landscape was sick.
We really enjoyed working on that one. My favorite thing was going. We hadn't seen anything of. We had seen the first trailer of Rogue One, and then they reshot so much of the film that we were like trying to retrofit the game mode to work with like the new plot that they were intending, and it was like, and they're like, well, that's not how, like, Jyn never escapes with this Death Star plans like on the surface. But like, did you see the first trailer when she's running with the plants being chased by walkers? Like, we made that, and then they changed the script. But it was fun, and in particular, I like the we were it was the brief was because the producers at Lucasfilm that we were working with at the time, they're getting it from the filmmakers, and then they're trying to convey it to us, kind of like we're asking for specific game stuff, and like the directors aren't really gamers, they don't really understand what we're asking for, so and they do a great job of just like translating that. But we in particular we were saying like how many in that final part on Scarif, how many shall we have starfighters there, because we can easily add them, and by the time our deadline for cutoff was, they said no, there's like very few X-wings, maybe one or two that gets through the gate, and we don't really, they don't play a part in that movie, or in that part of the movie. And then we're going to see, on premiere night, the entire team goes to see Rogue One, and we're super proud because it's like it looks exactly, and we only had still images, and we managed to make it look so realistic. And then they have that sequence that we're capturing in the game mode, and there's like so many X-wings, because it was like I think a semi last minute addition, because ILM are the ones who are like, they're putting the finishing touches and like spicing up the final scenes with like all the special effects and stuff. And so a couple of more X-wings snuck in the movie. Well, like, we could have added those too if only you would have told us. But other than that, it was pretty much
you had the pickup where you could be in the U-wing that was basically circling around, and you could be on the heavy, if I remember.
That was so much fun.
But as I said, we don't play any of that anymore, Chief.
No, well, no. I was going to say, so when it comes to the smaller maps, which can sometimes not be, just a bolt-on or an add-on, but having said that, the main draw is generally that Supremacy or that Walker Assault. But the smaller maps, a lot of the times, are part, like we said previously, are part of bigger maps. Sometimes they're not, and they are their own thing anyway. But when it's a smaller map, and some of these maps are actually quite small, you could sprint. I think the Mos Eisley one, I think we timed it. You can sprint from one base straight across the middle to the other base in like 7 seconds or something. I don't know. Maybe it's a bit more than that, but they're quite tight.
The Rebel Depot.
Yeah, sorry, the depot. Yeah, the Rebel Depot.
That one was fun.
But when they're small like that, I guess the challenge is to put enough obstacles and cover and corridors and tunnels and walkways to make them interesting, even at that small size.
Like I was saying, like, I grew up playing a lot of these classic modes back in like the original Quake days of like all the mods, like the original CTF and all of that stuff. I loved Capture the Flag in general. I think it's one of like it's heydays. Its heydays probably behind it. There's no new shooter games coming out with like CTF as their main mode, I don't think, but I always enjoyed it. I think the team play, it's so easy. You can sort of, kids kind of play it. It's easy to, like, you can talk about defense and offense kind of like, in team sports and stuff, so it's pretty easy to understand.
It's more easy to strategize with a team than on a 40-player game where there's lots of people running off doing their own things. If you've got, even if you've only got 2/3 of your 6-man squad, 6-person squad on a cargo map, Capture the Flag map, then you've got a chance of doing very well if you're syncing up and organizing. For those who just wanted to catch a chat with Dennis or wanted to check out the channel and don't know the game mode we're talking about, it's called Cargo, or it's a Capture the Flag mode. It's a 6-on-6 mode. you got to go and get their cargo, get it back to your base, and they're trying to do the same thing to you. So very simple. That mode's been around, like you said, for many years, but it's the one we gravitate to and we play. But those maps, just especially that Imperial Station, which is set on Endor. You've got the Rebel and the Imperial bunkers at either ends. You've got and we'll put up some images here. You've got the shuttle on the landing platform in the middle. Or there might be in 2 shuttles actually in that landing platform in the middle of the map, which when you come outside and you see them, is a big imposing, vehicle. You have to actually let your character crane their neck up to see the top of the shuttle, which gives. It's not just inside; it gives the level design some gravitas almost. And then obviously you've got able to run outside, go into the bunker halfway down the map. But then on one side of the map, it has this corridor which literally goes from one base round the corner, down the corridor, round the corner, and in the enemy base. It is the full length of the map, this corridor, with some opening blast doors in between, and that is a thing of beauty. That is
does feel
the
like
greatest thing in video gaming. That corridor.
History. It is.
In history, it is.
It does feel like when we play, that map will always flow and end up on that corridor. It's like a choke point. We've had some insane
battles,
long-range battles on that corridor.
Well,
and when we fire that game up, we just say head to the corridor, head to the corridor.
I've got no interest in running outside because it's the most efficient way of getting between the 2 bases, I guess, because of the corridor function of it. If you're running out in the middle, you could be shot out from any direction. But if you're in the corridor, it's either going to come from in front or behind. So you've immediately, narrowed down where the enemy is going to come from. Yeah, we started some.
It's very honest that way.
So, yeah. Apart from these bastards who shoot out the windows and chucking grenades, I don't like them. But But then there's a bit halfway down the corridor when you go in between the 2 blast doors. I'm sure we're going to put up some images here. There's like a central, almost circular bit which has 2 doors leading to the outside, so people can come in through there. But there's crates down this corridor. So just simple things like that. You've got this. Did you decide we want a massive corridor, or was it just organic? That's the way it came out. If you can remember, it was 6 years ago.
I remember back. We had the big maps, and then we pretty much split up so that 4 of the small maps were going to be tailored for drop zone. And they are the ones when you're playing it, they're more circular.
They're very open, aren't they?
Yeah, made for you can get to it from anywhere. And then 4 of them were going to be made for cargo. Right. Sort of designed to be these as much as possible symmetrical, not necessarily symmetrical in from a visual perspective, but symmetrical in that we want these 2 bases and a middle, and in general 3 lanes that's classic CTF layouts. But
they feel very different. Like the Gals on Badlands one, where you can go across the top or you can go through the tunnels. Yeah. Even though it's like you said, it's the left side, right side, down the middle. There are 3 paths, 3 lanes, but they feel very different. Even though it is almost a symmetrical map with a few slight changes, they do feel different, which is a credit, I guess, to the design as well.
We always call that Blood Gulch, don't we, Chief?
Blood Gulch. Never go down the middle on Blood Gulch. Although I think it is actually the best route now, in retrospect. I don't know.
Yeah, they were. I loved working on them. I think for the Imperial Station, we were thinking there's if you go close to the edge, it's so open. You have boxes and the shuttle, but it's that one. you're doing that one because you have the jetpack and or the jump pack and that everyone else is in the corridor. That's pretty much when you go that route. Otherwise, you're gonna get sniped from somewhere.
Yeah.
And then you have like the more forestry path that's pretty close to the corridor. That's kind of
cool
like
because that's the one that goes under the platform, isn't it? That's cool.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like that's the middle, but it's not like it's a little bit off center, but like it's still like that was what we get considered like the middle. And I think
it's not as good as the corridor, though.
It's not as good as the corridor. And then the corridor, it just kind of happened in that we had the bases, and we I don't remember, but I think they're pretty symmetrical. Like they like you have like 2 stories with like the wraparound staircase leading up. And the windows out, so that like at least when we were practice or play testing it, like there was a lot of it was all about pushing.
I was going to say, when do you actually start play testing?
Early, really early.
Really early, right?
Yeah,
and then obviously that's feeding into how you build the map.
It's just a natural cycle, isn't it? It's test, build, test, build, test, build.
Yeah, a lot of iteration.
So cool.
But we saw that there's a lot of defense happening at like the top of the stairs of the bases, like trying to control like, so they can't jump pack in, because that's, I think, the fastest way. It's faster than the corridor if you just jump pack in onto the balconies and run down. Yeah. So trying to push out your defense so that you can cover that is probably a good idea. So that's what happened when we were playtesting. I'm not sure what's going on live. I haven't played online.
I'm never equipping a jump pack in Battlefront.
No, that's too modern for us. We're boots on the ground.
Personal shield and jump pack, never. You won't see me in them.
What's
I'm like
your loadout,
on Jaws. You never see me in a life jacket.
What is your loadout?
I generally, well, you know, but for the fans out there, I like to take a shot grenade because I am a terrible shot. So any advantage I have of making someone stand still is good. And then I take a Bacta because I'm not going anywhere without 130 health. 100 is not enough for me. I need 130. And then explosive shot we like, don't we?
Oh, well, that you can't play without it.
And then I take escape artist because I need extra speed.
There you go.
But yeah, that corridor, and obviously a couple of key points is it's got the blast doors, so that changes the game massively. Because if there were no blast doors, it's still the longest corridor in video gaming, and it's still amazing.
It would be misty at the end.
Just love that. I love the fact that you can be running down a corridor and you can open a blast door, and there's just some bastard sat behind that box. And he's just waiting for you, and he's not moving, so he's not showing up on your radar, and he scatterguns you. It's just, but that's what makes it great, I guess.
We'll have to play after this, Chief.
I remember when we were putting it together, we were saying like this is the longest corridor in video game history.
There you go.
What are we supposed to do?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Love it.
It was just and it came after we had sized out like the platforms, like the landing platforms, and they needed to be that size. Like they were even like realistically they're probably bigger. Why would they big such as like the platforms are, and so I think visually the pushback was going to be the platforms aren't big enough for the Empire. Like they would never build that small.
No.
And I think our feeling was that we can't make it bigger than this. Like there's if we're going to have this is not going to be a small map anymore if it's bigger, because the interior bit that became the corridor, that was going to be a level on its own. Like if it needed to be even bigger, because we cannot build a longer corridor than what we have here. And we were playing with
mindset of thinking
we were playing without
they'd build it.
Amazing. We did not. There were no blast doors in the beginning. There were just like this long corridor, and it was just this is just a death trap for someone. Yeah,
you can't. You can't. If there's a pulse rifle at the end, you can't run down that corridor if there's no blast doors.
No, and there's no way of getting out. So you're you're running into
But those blast doors, what they do is, like you said earlier, Ben, they create a choke point there, and we have had, I'm not even kidding, 5+ minute battles of not even leaving that corridor against another 3 or 4 people, and there was 3 or 4 of us. Just someone would be in sync. So you'd be lined up with a pulse rifle, and you'd say, "Chief, on my mark, open the door," and I would kind of sneak up and let the doors open. You'd let off a shot. There'd be someone with a blaster cannon down the end. It's just I'm throwing gas or whatever, and it's incredible until someone knows we're in there and they just sneak around behind us and then get you in the back. But while it's going on, it's like, we talked about the cinematic moments of the big maps. You can still get those cinematic moments even on these small maps.
Definitely.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I
love it.
That we try to be careful around like how accessible should it be to the outside, how much effort should it be to go in and out, and I think eventually we settled on what we launched with which is it is possible to intersect. Like we had when we did not have any way of getting in, once someone went, like if you're out, you're playing midfield or defense in the middle, and the enemy is stealing your cargo and they're running to their base, and they manage to get into that corridor. If you cannot interrupt them, then like they would just be lost, and there's no way of you have to pretty much enter their base to intersect them before they capture. And so we played around for a while, making sure that like it is possible to, if you're controlling the middle, you can commit to go in into the corridor and
because there's two outside entrances, kind of almost a third of the way down the corridor at each end, which lets you then go up the stairs and come in. And there are, like you mentioned, Ben, there are a couple of windows, but not every window.
No,
it feels like, I don't know if I've never actually tried, but it doesn't feel like every window is breakable. It just feels like there's only a couple that you can shoot through. I mean, I don't know if that's true or not, but
no, originally we had one entrance in the very middle of that corridor, and that was not enough. We just felt like you need more access to that space, but not like we could have gone with 3, and that would have been I think a little bit more disorienting and understanding where now that there's it's one on their side that they can come at you, and one on your side, so you can plan.
And there's some cool on that map as well, and some of the other maps. There's there are crates and things to hide behind, but I die way too many times from the explodable crates that I just forget are on top of normal
canisters.
Crates. And things like that. And it's just I'll put a proxy down or something, or I'll shoot one with explosive shot, and I miss the guy and I hit one of these crates and I blow up. I was like, "You died, you killed yourself or something." I was like, "Oh god!" But little touches. I should know that better by now.
Dennis, actually, I got a really important question for me and Chief, because time is ticking on. We're 2021 with this game now, and sometimes me and Chief sit down and we fire it up and we can't find a game. So how long do the servers for these kind of games, is it 10 years? When do they shut these things off?
I don't know. I think
What's the life cycle for a game like this?
I couldn't tell you. I think it depends on the game. If there's an audience, then I mean, I think any company who if no one's playing your game, then you don't want to be paying for any server fees of having hosted servers. So I think it's the best interest of any company to be like, let's not have that going. But as long as there are players out there who are playing, then
I mean, we come up against the same players fairly regularly, don't we?
And I think so.
We are generally, I will say this generally, we have some bright spots, but generally we're near the bottom of the leaderboard every game we play.
But these guys are superhuman, Chief.
But that's what I'm saying. These guys, I have and followers of the channel will know this. If you listen to the Outtatimers podcast that we used to do, you will know this as well. Now, this is a bit tongue in cheek. If someone kills me and I don't particularly like the way they've killed me, they've one-shotted me from half the map, and I feel like it wasn't a headshot, and it was a crappily powered gun, and I died. I will send them a instant message just that says hacker reported. Now, I'm not, I guess, saying I think they're hacking, because I'm not sure you can hack a PS4, but it's a little bit of a, it's my trademark just to send them a message saying hacker reported. And
well, you think they're playing with keyboards, don't you?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are definitely playing with keyboards and mouse, I think.
Okay.
Because the way some of these people are moving, it's not natural. It's something out of a horror movie, the way they're kind of jerking around and the way that they can get that crosshair over my head to shoot me, definitely keyboard and mouse. Now, I don't know whether that's legal in online console gaming, but fine. But quite often, to the original point, quite often when I send them this hacker reported message, they will send me a reply saying, no, I'm not a hacker. I've just been playing this game for 6 years. So I think the main core players of this game are ones that just never gravitated to Star Wars Battlefront 2. They've played it for 6 years and they're just very, very good at it.
They probably also just love the OG trilogy, and just maybe they don't want to play Naboo and things like that from the prequel trilogy. I don't know.
Maybe
it is a different game. It feels different. Like it's okay.
Yeah.
Like in many cases, like people picked up 2 and then they just played that for a while and decided that like no, 1 is the one that I enjoy. Like visually, like back in the day, like you would see a sequel with just like the graphics would be so much better and like everything would be better. Yeah. But like we're in this day and age when like like it looks, in some cases I think that Battlefront 1 looks even better, like just because we had,
that's what I think,
we didn't have as many planets, we were not as pressed for time honestly as we were on 2, so I think like there's a level of polish to the environment in 1 that's there's just like those extra days of just hard work that so I wouldn't blame anyone for going back to 1. I thought it's easily my favorite project to work on,
wow,
from start to finish for my career at DICE.
I tell you, man, if I could roll back the years, game designer, it's just pure creativity, isn't it, Dennis? I mean, it's just blank canvas and you just create.
Nah, well, in some cases, I think these days it's a lot more like that for me. But I think back then, when you're working at like these big companies, like it's a lot more problem solving, I think, than anything.
Right.
Like you need to have creative solutions to actual problems of like people aren't playing for long enough, for like people aren't understanding these things, like not a high enough percentage of our players are understanding it or continuing to play after the first 5 hours, like those things. It's very
well, that's actually something,
you're deploying solutions to problems.
That's something that I found, because you had been playing it for maybe 6 to 9 months before I actually even got it, and when I went online to start playing it, I probably played for a week and I was struggling, hard with actually being able to kill people and being able to be competitive. And I'm not talking top of the leaderboard, the best player in the game, but just even get a 50-50 kill death ratio. I couldn't, I was way off. And I think this is like what you're saying, the problem to solve. How do you get me to keep playing the game? And I think it came once I started being able to unlock some of the the traits or the secondary weapons and things, and then you find something you like, you find a secondary weapon you like, and okay, fine, then you alter your play style a little bit. Whereas I was going in with a mindset of, I'm a good gamer, I'm going to be able to play this game no matter what my loadout is and be good at it, and that definitely wasn't the case. But
do you mean just because when you play multiplayer online gaming, Chief, everyone, even the day of launch, just seems to be instantly incredible?
Yeah, everyone's better than me whenever I, and I haven't really done much online gaming apart from Battlefront, and we only play Battlefront probably once a week, so we're not like, I'm sure there's some of the people we go up against that play 6 hours a day every day, but you know, we play once a week. But yeah, I do feel like if you're not an early adopter in a lot of these games, I'm not saying specifically Battlefront, I'm saying most general new online games, if you're not an early adopter, I think the learning curve can be steep if there's not a balance matching you up against equally skilled players. But that's a problem for game designers to solve.
Dennis, do you think the perfect Star Wars game has been made yet, or do you think we're still waiting for the one, for the all I want personally is a Red Dead Redemption but Star Wars type open world game? Do you feel that is on the horizon? That's something that they should do. Would you like to play that
as a solo campaign game? Do you mean
very much solo?
You don't want it populated with other players?
Well, like GTA, it will have an online element, but I just feel that that's what I am waiting for. That's all I want.
Like, did you play Knights of the Old Republic on the Xbox, which was a kind of an RPG-ish, I guess?
That's KOTOR. That's getting an HD re-release, I think. I saw a trailer for it. So I'll definitely play that. But yeah, I don't know. I just feel like with these consoles, these super next-gen consoles, oh my God, it could be everything. I'd even have it just on Tatooine, Chief. I would take that. Just wandering around Mos Eisley. But yeah.
I think the best is yet to come. I think Lucasfilm is they're starting to really understand, like they've been working with so many different developers right now. They're starting to really understand the challenges and opportunities within like modern game development. I think that the fact that they're no longer exclusive with EA means that they can take pitches and ideas from myriad of studios that might have cool ideas, and so where there's a tendency to go for like these safe genres, like financially. Shooters, for example, they like, if you make shooters, usually you do like, you sell a lot of copies because people want to shoot, but and so that's usually what you get when you're dealing with like publishers who want to sort of play it safe, and it is a big expensive license to work with, so like you tend to do it that way. But the more that they sort of mingle with developers who might be sitting on some cool ideas, I think I personally want to, I love the BioWare Star Wars games for sure. But for me, like the Star Wars Galaxy for me was like what I wanted out of a Star Wars game. This feeling of, I just want to live in that world. I just want to belong, and like I want to pretend that I'm a farmer on Tatooine who's gonna
well,
like,
I'm surprised that passed you by, Ben. I'm surprised you didn't get involved in that game. You're not a PC gamer.
I didn't have a PC at the time. It was successful though, wasn't it? It was quite big.
Yeah, I'm surprised I never played it.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I think that choice of be whoever you want to be and just belong in this world, I think that's the type of like RPG that I would be, quite excited for.
Yeah.
Now, a quick question, just jumping back to Battlefront. Me and Ben have one big difference when we play it, and I'm just keen on your view on this. Ben, you have to play in first-person viewpoint, and I have to play in third-person viewpoint.
Yeah, no, I understand that that's not a good way to be good at the game, but I just love how it looks like that. So I just feel more immersed.
But here's the weird. I guess when first-person shooter is a, when you hear the word shooter, my mind automatically goes to, it's a first-person shooter, as in the viewpoint of the player. But this game, and I don't know how easy it is to balance out the two viewpoints. It's effectively the same game, but just an over the shoulder or a
no, you can see
POV.
so much more.
That's what I mean, but I don't know what from a game design point of view, is that just an easy thing to shift the camera, I guess. And
you can see around corners.
It's not an easy thing. Yeah,
it's not easy.
Not
okay.
Easy thing. No, okay. I don't recommend anyone doing both and hoping to be in like any type of competitive setting online. It's like you're asking players to choose between effectiveness and like immersion, or one sort of immersion. And I think why would you ask anyone that? Like, why can't they have it all? And like I don't know. I don't recommend it. It's a legacy thing for Battlefront. The original ones had that.
Right. But it works. But both game modes, but both viewpoints do actually work in that game and are imminently playable. Like you're not a terrible player, Ben. You know, you can play in first person view and do really well, and other people can play in third person and do very well. It's not. It doesn't feel. You don't feel like you're hindered that much that otherwise you would switch the viewpoint.
No, I'd never switch. I mean, it just doesn't. I just like how real it feels when you're in third person. You can see round corners, Chief.
Yeah.
It's quite like if you compare it to like an Elder Scrolls game, or at least Skyrim, where like you can just scroll out, and if you want to do third person pretty far away, you can do that, and if you want to zoom in close and sort of have that sort of classic Elder Scrolls view, then you can have that. But then you're not competing in that game. You're just picking how you want to experience the game. And like I think when you're tossing in competitive disadvantages to like as a trade-off, then like I just think it's a little bit cruel to players to do it.
But again, this is where, you know, research is really helpful, because you're probably in a minority, Ben, but you don't play the game to have more kills than deaths. You're fine if you have 4 kills, 10 deaths, as long as you feel like you've played the game objective. If you're getting the cargo back, you know, that's more. You're more about the experience of playing,
very much
rather than the stats.
It's just.
I think that's probably a minority. I think most people are all about the stats.
Yeah, they probably are. But I just, it's my 1 hour of living in
which is a credit to you that you just want to, you know, have an hour of fun time. You know, if you don't, if you die more than you know kill, that's fine. But as long as you had fun.
Yeah, but I'm all about the deep immersion.
Yeah.
I want to give you I need to get going soon, guys. But I wanted to tell you a fun story about cargo in particular. One of the times when I went to Star Wars Celebration, and we were doing. I've been to quite a few of them. I don't remember which one it was. I think it might have been one in London. It might have been the London one, and we were in a booth there, and they were playing. I think it was the Bespin DLC, and we were announcing the Death Star DLC at that was London. And
Bespin's great.
And there's obviously a lot of cosplayers at Celebration, and one of them, it was a young lady, and we kind of recognized her as like, she looks almost like, she doesn't look like an iconic character. She looks like just a rebel, and like, isn't that like our rebel, like the rebel who?
No way.
Yeah, it was the rebel. The one that we don't see in the movie. God, I can't remember. Is it the Bespin one that we sort of created a little bit that looks like? Yeah, I think it's the Bespin rebel. That it's not like a canon rebel.
And she cosplayed as a character you created.
Yes, but even more importantly, and then she turned around because she was lining up to play some at our booth. and then like, oh my god, because like on her back she's actually carrying the cargo box from our game. Yeah, that was amazing. Because that was just like a box that we could never. We were tossing it back and forth with Lucas, like, can it be a droid that like you're picking up and you're chasing? Like, can it be like a fun R2D2 mode where like the flag is actually R2D2? And they're like, no, that would be like, that's disrespectful to R2. They would never carry him that way. And like, yeah, you're right. That's a bit like, and eventually it just became like a box with like an antenna and some lights, and like
it's a cool box. That's it. Love it.
It's a cool box, but like the potential of being something a little bit more Star Warsy was there, but we couldn't, like, we ran out of time, so it became the box. And now, she was carrying the box on her back when it was, and it was great. And so there's more people out there whose favorite game mode in Battlefront 1 is cargo, and she's proof of that.
Yes.
Oh man, Dennis, thanks so much for your time, buddy. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for giving up part of your Sunday to speak to us. Had an absolute blast speaking to you. Before you go, very quickly, without giving away anything you can't give away, what are you working on? Where can the fine viewers see your work next?
I'm kind of doing secret projects right now. I haven't really told anyone what I'm up to, but well, you'll hear real soon. Until then, you could probably just tag me on Twitter or whatever. That's usually the best way to get in contact. Cool. I've been really lousy at replying on Twitter lately. It's been COVID and
real life gets in the
all
way.
Of that stuff. But I'll be back soon-ish with some new thoughts.
Fantastic. Awesome. Thanks a lot, Dennis. You have a great evening. Have a great week. Have a great year.
Cheers, buddy.
Thanks,
See
guys.
you later.
See you next time.
Bye. Really appreciate that. That was good, wasn't it?
Dude.
That was great.
When he
said we called it the longest corridor in video gaming, are you kidding me?
I looked at, that's what we wanted. We got it.
Justice.
That's what we set out to do. We said it was the longest, and they said time. I knew that they'd have to. Those blast doors were put in because they were like, "This is crazy.
It's too long. It's too long.
You're just going
to go down the corridor. You just die."
Yeah. What a couple of clowns!
Good dude. Good dude. Whoa! There it was. Big thanks to my main man, Dennis BRÄNNVALL. The Chief and the Ben Flying Retro are indebted to the man for coming on to the show and spilling his guts, opening the can of worms and telling us about that level. Now, this was an obsession for the Chief. Needed to speak to someone involved in the making of this corridor. We got the main man. The only thing that was stopping me if he didn't reply, I was going to turn up on his doorstep. And I think everyone, especially him, is glad that did not happen. But listen, we got to chat to him. We got to spend an hour with him. You got to spend an hour as well, listening as we did intently about how this game was designed, game design in general, and that corridor, which we all know and love. And we hope we will see you in that corridor in the future. And until next time, make sure you keep it geek.